Sagittarius, this is your week ahead astrology forecast from Astrology Motivation by Born Without Boundaries. My name is Michelle. Welcome. In these videos, every single week, what I'll do is go over the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact or relate to your natal sun. Now, I don't know where your natal sun is, but I hope that you do. If you don't, you can definitely get that information for free in many different places in the internet. Just search free natal chart. What you'll need is your birth date, birth time, and birth location. You can get all this on your birth certificate. Call mom if you have to. Now, I will give you estimated dates so you can actually listen to this reading even if you don't have that information, but it's most accurate to get it, just an FYI. So if your natal sun falls somewhere between 0 and 9 degrees Sagittarius, you are Sagittarius 1 because your natal sun falls within the first decan. A decan is a group of 10 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, if your natal sun falls between 10 and 19 degrees Sagittarius, you are a Sagittarius 2 because your natal sun is in the second decan of Sagittarius. And if your natal sun falls between 20 and 29 degrees Sagittarius, you are a Sagittarius 3. Now, there's a big difference between, especially Sag 1 and Sag 3. The angles are everything in astrology. It is based on geometry. That's what astrology is. It's all geometric. So essentially, when I hear you guys, especially on the tarot reading, say, this isn't impacting me at all. In fact, quite opposite. Well, it makes sense. Because if your natal sun is square to Pluto and then somebody else's natal sun is sextile to Pluto, yeah, you're experiencing the same planet, the same planet in a very different way. Because it's all about the energies that are derived from those angles. That's what the relationships are. So I recommend that you listen to the whole video. There are a lot of planets that are transiting between the decans. So one will get it in the beginning of the week and the other will get impacted by it at the end of the week. It's also very good to listen into what's going on around you, just even sometimes just for the astrology's sake. But we're going to start really, really broad with the major transits, how they impact everyone. And then we'll whittle that down to the transits that are in how they impact Sagittarius, and then the transits that are in particular of particular interest to Sagittarius. And then we'll whittle it down into the decans. So let's get started with the large transits and how they're going to impact everyone. Today, Venus has moved into Gemini from Taurus. Now, Venus was at home in Taurus, and now she's slipped into Gemini. Venus is very different in Gemini. Gemini, by the way, is exactly opposite you. It is your zodiac wheel opposite. And so Venus slipping into Gemini means Venus is going to be in opposition to Gemini for the next few weeks. So, Venus is going to be in opposition to Sagittarius for the next few weeks. So if there is some rub or tension for the next few weeks between your finances, unexpected surprises, not being able to rest, constant worry or dissonance, when it comes to your relationships, how you're valued, if you even feel valued, because the sun opposite Venus can compromise our sense of self-value or sense of beauty, our sense of worthiness, our sense of attractiveness. Now you'll know why, FYI. But Venus in Gemini overall is an energy of friendship. It's an energy maybe even focused on siblings. It's more focused on the value of words, not promises, but the spoken word and how you communicate with people. So I think it's especially important now to make sure you text back and make sure things have meaning in them and not just random LOLs. Poetry and eloquence of speech is extremely important and shows love and devotion when Venus is in Gemini. And Venus in Gemini is very turned on by being able to learn about somebody, being able to learn new things, or somebody that has something to give you in the way of teaching you. Intellect is a turn on for Venus. Not like in Taurus, where it's like the sensual pleasures of looking good and feeling good and tasting good and food and wine and all that stuff. No. With Venus, it's a great Venus and Gemini, it's a great conversation. It is long chats or talking to each other to learning with each other. That's a very good energy in when Venus moves into Gemini. Also, being friends, or if you're single, dating. It's not about settling down and getting to business with the, bumping the uglies. It's not about that. It's really just about talking to each other, learning about people, getting to know many different people. This is a great time to date, not a great time to get into a committed relationship yet. Venus will enter Cancer in a few weeks, guys. And then she's all about committed relationships. Now is the time to just have fun and be playful and get to know somebody's mind, the way they think and what they know, and to really validate those values about them. It's also a time to learn about your finances, understand them more, and get information and give information. And information is really the prime value, the prime mode of exchange, currency, the prime currency when Venus is in Gemini. And then we have the Sun conjunct Jupiter. So all week long, no, actually by the 13th, so that's by this Thursday, the Sun is going to be in conjunction with Jupiter. Actually, the Sun is in conjunction with Jupiter now and all week long. So I apologize. I was looking at something else. What does that mean? Well, Jupiter's your ruling dignitary, so it's going to mean a lot for you. The Sun conjunct Jupiter is simply this, big-headedness. Now, the good side of that is confidence. It's really feeling a strong sense of self-esteem. But the fact that most of your natal suns are also in opposition to, or most of your natal suns over the next week, We'll get into that. Jupiter conjunct the Sun is really feeling good about yourself. But the problem with Jupiter conjunct the Sun is that you could easily get ahead of yourself and feel like you deserve more than you actually do. It's almost like a sense of feeling so good, your head's getting a little big. So just an FYI. We also have this week, as of the 13th, so this is as of Thursday, Mercury will conjunct Uranus. Mercury conjuncting Uranus is actually, and this is just for this week, so is the Sun conjunct Jupiter. So this week is intense with expansion and personal courage, as well as cleverness. Oh my God, Mercury conjunct Uranus is genius, but it's genius that you can communicate and translate into layman's language, and so that everybody can understand it. It's like being able to take a huge concept like string theory or something, like something Nobel Prize worthy, right? But somehow be able to also articulate it and communicate it so that everybody can comprehend it and make it palpable. And that's where Mercury comes in. There's such a wonderful sense of, might surprise you what you're thinking about, might surprise you what you're interested in, might surprise you what you're talking about, because Uranus does like a good surprise, might surprise you what information you get, might surprise you what news comes through, but it will be brilliant and could very well be groundbreaking. This is actually a very exciting conjunction. Now let's get into Jupiter. Now wherever Jupiter is, you should try to be aware, because Jupiter is your ruling dignitary, and you will tend to take on the characteristics of wherever Jupiter is. Jupiter is in Aries. It's been in Aries for a while. And that means physicality, confidence, a sense of self, defining your individuality, defining your own personality, and defining your own body, getting into the physical self, getting more physical. When Jupiter is in Aries, it's best for you to be more physical. It'll actually help you out a lot. And there's rapid expansion, and it's like getting into the body is a good way to use that energy for you guys in particular. Now, Jupiter this week is going to conjunct the Sun, which means that for you guys, there's a sense of a stronger sense of self, a growing sense of self, maybe a push of self-confidence that you've actually needed, and it will actually help out. Let that confidence inspire you and encourage you instead of distract you or make you fly off the handle. Just an FYI. Jupiter's also this week going to be semi-square to Venus, which could mean some challenges, or basically stubbornness when it comes to relationships, maybe in the direction that you want them to grow to or expand in. FYI, Venus is in Gemini now. She doesn't want to be pushed into any relationships or any commitments, so there could be some tension around that. Is it going to break you guys up? No, it's not. It's not going to make or break anything. It's not the best time to redo your hair. It's not the best time to, reframe how you look. it's not going to be horrible, but there is just almost, think of stubbornness. Think of stubbornness when it comes to your finances, stubbornness when it comes to your relationships, maybe stubbornness when it comes to your look and things not necessarily coming out as predicted, especially when Mercury conjuncts Uranus. Lots of surprises can come up. The sun will pass on and move on after this week. So use this energy. Use this energy to if you're feeling good, you're feeling up, you feel you have more energy, get into your body, get physical and get active and learn more about yourself through your physical presence of self, since Jupiter and the sun are both in Aries. Let's go into Sagittarius 1. Sagittarius 1, definitely November Sagittarians. If you're born in November and you're a Sagittarius, you are a Sag 1. FYI. Now, it's those of you who are born on the cusp of Scorpio and Sagittarius. You're still a Sagittarius, but you're right there near Scorpio. So probably like November 21st, 22nd, 23rd at the most. You guys are going to feel a big hit today. This is April 11th because Venus just drops into Gemini today. And it's when the planet transits that makes the biggest impact. So you guys will feel the biggest impact of these this opposition. So whereas everybody else will get an opposition as Venus, every other Sagittarian will get an opposition, feel the opposition at one point over these next couple of weeks, or these following weeks. It's you guys that are going to get the most impact, because that's when the impact is made the most, when the transit happens or right before it exits. So what does this mean? When Venus, we talked a little bit about it, Sagittarius ones, particularly those of you born on the cusp of Scorpio, tension with how you feel about yourself, tension with how you feel about your looks, being insecure. All of a sudden this could be a thing for you this week when it really normally isn't. Tensions when it comes to your relationships, issues that you didn't predict, probably because you're more insecure. So understand that a lot of you could be reacting to insecurities now instead of actual things that are going on. The thing about this is when Venus first drops into Gemini, she is going to be trying to Pluto for most of this week. So there is this sense of active change. So it could be something that kind of surprises you, but you aren't ready for it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but since it's in opposition, it's something that you have to deal with without really getting any prep for it, or really being prepared with understanding how to deal with it. Just could feel like it's the wrong time. There is definitely a sort of transcendence, a butterfly about Venus trine Pluto, a sense of wanting to change and being ready for change. But since this is happening in opposition to your natal sun, there is a sense of having it hit you instead of you being prepared and seeing it coming. Just an FYI. Your natal suns are also sextile to Pluto. Those of you born especially on the Scorpio cusp. Which means, Pluto's going to provide opportunities for you. This is good. These are opportunity exchanges, right? But the opposition just makes it feel like, where'd that come from, right? And you have to address it, right? There's a sense of trying to understand it, or having faith and just going along with it. Your natal suns, Sagittarius 1, are also at this time square to Saturn, which means there could be challenges coming from obligations that you've had, challenges with authority figures. All this change is happening, and it's fated. You can't control it, but prior commitments you'll get pushback from. So that's where those challenges are going to arise. Expect it and realize it. And then we have the North Node. So your natal suns are quincunx to the North Node, which means there are challenges moving forward in your life. There is just going to be a little bit of friction and frustration, especially coming from that Saturnian energy of prior obligations and commitments that aren't going to go that smoothly. FYI. Mars until the 16th will also be quincunx to your natal suns. So that means that there could be frustration in terms of finding the energy or finding the momentum, or people constantly arguing with you and fighting with you on things. That will only last until the 16th of this week, so the end of this week. It won't last long. But the quincunx to the North Node will, and so will the square to Saturn. That's a long-term, those are long-term aspects. The North Node will dissipate around July, and Saturn will be square to you guys, natal suns, for the next year until like February of next year. So FYI, all of this Pluto, these dynamic Pluto changes that are great opportunities, you will on the backside get kickback with, well, you know, what your parents expected from you, what different bosses expected from you, and then different contracts that you may have signed and feel stuck in or have to change, or like something like that you're obligated to in this 3D world that Saturn's going to try to hold you to. There are definitely ways to handle it. Squares are not permanent. You just have to face the challenges. I'm just saying that yes, these breakthroughs are going to happen in your life, but actually translating it into the reality of being able to live it in the 3D is not without its complications, FYI. So Sagittarius 2s, your natal suns are trying to Chiron, and they have been, which means you are finding healing, especially with aches and pains and suffering when it comes to your physical self. Old injuries especially, you're finding healing, and that's actually really beautiful. So if you guys, or if you haven't started, get yourself to the chiropractor. Take care of those old wounds and injuries. This is the time that they may come up, but they're coming up to allow you to heal them, and that is a long-term transit, so I wouldn't be surprised if you've been dealing with this for a while. It's just a great time to heal. This week, your natal sun is going to be quincunx to the Mercury-Uranus conjunction, so these surprises will be frustrating, and they'll probably make you have to work harder. Stuff in technology, brilliant breakthroughs, or just brilliant breakthroughs or understandings or knowledge, but it's frustrating the way you're going to have to deal with them or incorporate them. And then Mars by the 16th, so at the very end of this week, you guys then will get Mars quincunx to your natal suns, and that's also frustrating as well. Pop-offish energy, you're more argumentative, don't have as much patience, essentially, especially with all this other stuff with Mercury and Uranus. So especially toward the end of this week, expect to have your nerves fried, like people getting on the last nerve with everything that's flying at you. The more objectively you look at this, the more you distance yourself and just look at things intellectually, the easier it will be, because you'll see the brilliance. If you're in it and take it personally and only look at the work that the work that it's requiring from you, you'll get pop-offish and really frustrated, FYI. And then Sagittarius 3s. So those of you who are born on the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp, so say December 20th, 21st, you guys are sextile to Saturn, and you will be for the next year. That means opportunities, contracts, opportunities in obligations, opportunities with bosses or authority figures, or the law is actually helping you open up opportunities for yourself, or great opportunities at work or for your career. Extremely good time for you guys. You are square to Neptune, so the frustration in your lives will definitely be coming from confusion. Things are ambiguous, the stuff you don't know, and that doesn't come up until the most inconvenient times, essentially. Also, distractibility with the mind. When your sun is square to Neptune, you could have brain fog or find yourself daydreaming a lot more. That's a long-term transit, and so I wouldn't be surprised if you've already developed certain skill sets to deal with the brain fog or being distracted, or not using it as a distraction at all, but allowing your dreams, and the daydreams especially, that pop up and distract you, to actually reveal deeper aspects of yourself, and maybe desires that you didn't know you had, or that you've repressed for too long, and they're trying to point you in a direction of changing your life toward them. So don't write them off. In fact, write them down, and toward the end of the day, go back and review and think about them and think about, okay, maybe God's trying to lead me in a different direction here. This is coming up for a reason, especially if they are real dreams. Write them down and see what they're trying to tell you about your different emotions or your different frustrations. And that's a great way to actually work with this square and use it productively and get on the other side of it where it can create a whole new life for you. We have this week, your natal suns are going to be trine to Jupiter conjunct the sun, which means there's harmony here. It means it will work for you. It's helping you to heal maybe the way that you felt about yourself, or the way that you or maybe just helping you to heal in terms of feeling like you have more energy and more confidence. And use this courage this week because it is absolutely a blessing. And then with your natal suns, you're also going to be on just in the beginning of the week. So just today, the 11th and the 12th, quincunx to Venus. So if you have some tension in terms of especially verbal exchanges with your significant other, or with information that comes in about your finances, it won't last long. It could just be very frustrating and sort of trip you up for the next couple of days. But I don't think it's anything that you can't work through. I love you guys. I hope this helped. I also hope that you subscribe to the channel so that you can join our astrology live chats that we have on this channel. Usually on Mondays and Fridays. If you're a subscriber, you can participate. And definitely come over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys. Please leave the comments below because you know I love to know. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye.